Welcome everyone to our Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2018 What's New session. Wow, we had over 2,800 people registered for this event today. It's just amazing. On behalf of Microsoft, I want to welcome you to this session, and I'm excited to hear from the engineering team about what's new in NAV 2018, just like the rest of you. But before we do that, I just wanted to quickly remind you of a couple of announcements that were made. So on the announcement of Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2018, a blog post from James Phillips that was done on the release date, I just wanted to sort of go back in time a little bit from our time together at both US and EMEA directions, and kind of remind you all of what we announced at those events. And it's really great information that's in the blog post as you talk to your customers and prospects about the direction of Microsoft Dynamics NAV in the future. But really, in that blog post, we talked about two things. We talked about, obviously, the continued investment in Dynamics NAV with this release 2018, but we also talked about where we're headed in the future, and really this idea that we're providing an entire end-to-end business management solution with Dynamics NAV and expanding on our current online managed by Microsoft solution, and that we will, in the first half of 2018, deliver all of the breadth of Dynamics NAV into that solution. And as you all know, that's going to be renamed. And no, we don't have an announcement right now on what that name is, but it will be renamed in the first half of 2018. So again, with that, sort of delivered two different ways. One as a Dynamics 365 cloud application, again managed by Microsoft, and then also as an application service for our ISVs delivered through the Microsoft ISV Cloud Embed program. And so lots of opportunities for all of our partners. And so just, again, to reiterate, put it to a picture, today we're here to talk about Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2018 and the capabilities there. But at any point in time in the future, we will have one combined name, one combined solution delivered both in the cloud and on-premise. And that's really what we're all driving towards. So without any further ado, I'd love to turn it over to one of my main men, Yannick, to start delivering this session in more detail on Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2018. Yannick, over to you.
Thank you very much, El. Yes, I will take you through the application, what's new in the NAV 2018 application. So I'm the group program manager for the application team here in MDCC just outside Copenhagen, and let's dive into it because we only have an hour and we have so much new for you today to go through. So let's look at it. Let me just start here. So first of all, what I will do, I'll basically go through each of the advancements we've done to the application over the last year. First, setup and extensions. What we basically have done, we have put everything in one single place in terms of setup. In the past, NAV 2017, it was all over. You had to go to different role centers and so on to find it. Now we have one place where you can go and set up your system. We have not only put that one place, but we also enable so you can use assisted setups, as we call it, or also wizards that takes you through the setup process of a lot of the functionality. The manual setup piece is basically all the pages and so on that have been scattered around. They are in the same place. And finally, the service connection when you set up OCR, email, and so on, including extensions, is also here. This is great not only for enabling partners like yourself to easily set up the systems, but also in the case you're an ISV that wants to develop a solution and you want to have one place where you want to put this, you put it into the same place where we are putting it, and not have to find a ribbon and tile and so on as it was in the past. So what I want to do for each of these features that I go through, I basically just do a quick screenshot so you also know where to go and find it. So when you fire up NAV 2018, you can see setup and extensions, and here you can see I've expanded the manual setup, in this case general, and then can see the different areas that I can set up. Of course, you can also filter here. In this case, I filtered in general setup. You can also search and so on, so that it's easier to find all the setup pages that you're looking for. User task. User task is a new addition as well to the product. On each role center, we basically put a user task queue so that you can distribute tasks to users. So within the company, you can system-wise assign any user to do a certain task. It could be year-end closing, in the end of month, collecting bank statements and so on. You put that in and you could track it against a due date. You can also put basically saying this task happens every month. You can set that up and you can get lists of what are the user tasks across the company. And finally, of course, as an admin, you will then be able to go in and bulk delete the completed user tasks. So this helps not only for just users of NAV, but it also helps users that are now going to use later on the Accountant Hub. So this is how it looks when you are in the role center. You can open the user tasks here, and here we can see there is some tasks set up in terms of getting customer statements, sending those out, or verifying a vendor, and if it's overdue, would of course, like in any other list, be highlighted with red. So next thing, employee ledger entries. Every time that you had to do something with employees, there were different solutions for that. Some created resources, some created vendors, and so on. What we've done now is basically make sure that you can have entries on a employee, and that means that you basically within a journal can post directly to employees. You can of course also apply payments later on. You can also unapply in case you make mistakes. There is even also a payment suggestion report so that it can suggest which employees to pay. And of course, you set it all up with posting groups so that it goes into the right accounts inside the finance part. This, of course, is also made so that any ISV out there that make a expense management solution as a Connect apps can basically use this, because we also expose these capabilities through the APIs. And this is how it looks. As you can see here, we look at a journal, and within that journal, you have the account type. You'll look in the middle of the screen, employee. Once you have selected that, in the account number, you then look into the the employee table here. And finally, we did this short snippet of where you set up on the employee, you set up the posting group. So that's just what it shows there in the lower part of the screen. So a lot of new scenarios open up for this. Not really full expense management, but at least the capability of handling expenses from employees. Image Analyzer. As you all recall, last year in NAV 2017, we introduced a lot of AI capabilities where we made it possible to use machine learning for predicting cash flow forecasts, look into the future. We also enabled it for sales forecast, inventory forecast. So this year we're taking a step further. We now use the cognitive services to basically enable it so that you can take a picture either from a contact person where when you attach it to a contact card, it can actually detect a person's age or gender, or on items where you have to specify a category or a attribute, it will actually also analyze the picture there and analyze whether it's a table, indoor table, and so on, and suggest that so you don't have to type it in. I have to say, for those of you that are ISVs on the call, this is also built so that there is an API within NAV 2018, so you basically can also use that in your ISV solutions for specific vertical scenarios where this can be used. So this is how it looks. If I go in first time on an item card and I haven't enabled it, it will ask me whether I want to do that. And of course, in NAV 2018 running on-prem, you will have to set up the connection to the image analyzer in Azure. And once done, then basically you can then analyze the pictures when you import. It will actually come up with a notification and ask for that. And this is how it looks. It basically says, I've looked at this picture. It looks like it's a table. It looks like it's an indoor table. It suggests to use one as a category and the other one as an attribute. If I was running a live demo, I would be able there in the upper left corner, click at View All Attributes. It has filtered out those with a low confidence. Sometimes there's a low confidence on what it can see in the picture, but you could see those if you click View All Attributes. In this case, it only shows those that are above 80% confidence. You can configure that in the setup, and now you know where you find that, and that is then one place you can set it up. Dynamics 365 for sales integration, we had that already. We've proved it in this version. Basically, we improved synchronization. We also improved the way you set this up. First of all, one of the things you had to do, and it was actually described in the manual, was that you had to set up salespersons connected to users in 365 for sales. We could see that that's one of the most asked questions. So instead of actually pointing to documentation, we now put that as part of the setup wizard here, so that actually helps you when you enable this to connect to Dynamics 365 and connect those users. Synchronization has been improved. It now runs in the background. You can also go in and see the status of that the run. And additionally, we have also added support for what is called write-in products from Dynamics 365 for sales. So it now supports and is being transferred to NAV. Another thing that's been improved, the sales orders in the past, or in NAV 2017, you had to go in to the sales order window from sales and actually say commit as an order inside NAV. That can be set up to be done automatically now, so you don't have to do that manually anymore. And this is basically just how the setup. There's not actually anything changed here. It's just you still just enable this and it will set up the synchronization. But this is where you go also to see the status. Then we have also enhanced the synchronization of vendors to the OCR service offered by the Cofrax invoice capture service. So whenever you were scanning purchase documents, purchase invoices, it would of course look for a vendor name. Recognition is much better if those vendor names are already synchronized against the service, and that is what is possible now. It is not something that is enabled out of the box if you do not want to share those, or the customer do not want to share those vendors with the service. So that's something you must be enabled within the OCR service setup. And actually that's pretty simple. You just go in to the setup, and there you can see that we added the master data sync enable, and then you will can resync the data, and then when you then go into the Cofrax invoice capture service, you will actually be able to see the vendors in there. And see, the thing is, I could go on forever, and I could go on forever with these slides here. What I actually used here is some of the material that you will find on partner source when you go up and look for the What's New material for NAV 2018. But I also just made a quick list of some of the additional things that we have put in, because there is much more, and you of course find that in the detailed documentation. Let me quickly run through the list. Item charges, we had that in the past, but now we can distribute by volume and weight. In the past, we could only do by quantity and so on. Direct transfer orders, no longer needed to do an in-transit location. You could actually do it direct. If you are in the EU and you use a VAT number, we will actually look up the name of a company that used that VAT number and suggest that when you create a new customer. Another thing that was annoying for a lot of customers was the fact that when they were shipping something and changed the address because they just got a notification or whatever about an address changed, the master data cards were not updated. A notification will now come up and say, do you want to update the master data? The next one is not really an application improvement, but that's an improvement to the help piece, that if you search for some application pages within the product, it will actually come up and suggest also the hits that it gets from our online documentation. Intercompany, you already had the intercompany outbox and inbox. You had to go in and send and receive manually. You can set this up automatically now. Batch invoicing, that was also there in the past, but now you actually, when you have a list of invoices, you can mark those, and when you then say post, it will actually ask you whether you want to post them all. Posting groups. There's a lot of partners out there. When I say posting groups, that's something you all know something about, because setting those up has always been at least a task that had to be done, and of course sometimes quite time consuming. So what we've done here, we basically made a function so that it will suggest the accounts when you create a new posting group based on the previous setup. There's also minor improvements to report. So for example, the GR register report will actually show the details now if you say that, and then there are 2 new reports added. This is actually part of some of the consolidation of localization work we are doing. So in one of the localizations, we found that there was a received not invoice purchase order and a shipped invoice sales order document that is now inside the product. Finally, 2 US specific things: check printing, now a report for 3 checks per page, and also the payroll support, import support for QuickBooks. That is actually all I had to say today. So let me actually hand over to Chad.
Thank you, Yannick. My name is Chad Sogi. I'm a GPM on the team here in Fargo, and today I have the opportunity to talk to you about some of the new features for NAV 2018 regarding integration with Microsoft Flow, with Power BI, and some of the Office work that we've been able to do. So those of you that have looked at Flow know what a powerful workflow solution this is in terms of integrating many different data sources into the flow and the approval process that you want. What we've been able to do with NAV 2018 is to embed those services or embed that experience within the product. And so you can create, edit, and manage your flows directly within Dynamics NAV. We do this through our new connector. That connects, of course, NAV information, but again, because of the flow technology underneath, you can connect NAV information with any other information that is resident in flow, such as social network capability or anything like of that nature, so that you can create a workflow that's custom to your organization. We've made it easy to manage approvals, to monitor, notify, and update the data automatically. And then finally, you can select the environment in which you want those flows to be alerted. So let me just show you a couple of screenshots of what that looks like. Here you see on the back screenshot that we have our flows embedded within NAV. We have 3 flows. I've highlighted the one that says send a notification when a new customer is created. This flow is a combination flow of NAV information as well as notifications. I could edit the flow directly from within this card, or I could go out to Microsoft Flow and have the full visual framework that I could utilize. And then you can see once I'm ready, the flow is either turned on or off. So with NAV 2018, you have a far easier way to integrate and to use Microsoft Flow technology. The second area I want to talk about is Power BI reporting. And Power BI has been probably the most impactful and powerful thing that our customers have used over the last year or two that we've been able to leverage, and we've concentrated on making this experience more intuitive and more native to your day in, day out operations within NAV. And I'll show you in a screenshot or a couple of screenshots what that looks like. But fundamentally, we've embedded it within NAV, and now we've used context sensitivity or context alert so that you can render Power BI reports for a specific customer or item that allow you to make decisions quickly. We will have a new content pack that is going through the final approval processes from Power BI, and that will be published for NAV 2018 and support the latest Power BI functionality. So you get a little more power from the content pack, more information from the content packs if you're using those. We also have direct navigation to the content packs available within your organization or to the general public directly from within NAV. We have made setup easier. We've even gone as far as saying easy setup. There's more work that can be done there, but we've given you all the information that you need in order to connect to Power BI from one screen within NAV. So I'll show that. And finally, we have a connector update for Power BI that allows you to create any of the Power BI charts and reports that you want in a more meaningful manner. So I mentioned first context. Here what you see is as I choose a customer, we pass that information over to Power BI and we can render the information about just litware in no matter what list view we have. So if I continue on with this, you can see here now we've changed context to the Canon group, and it has thus changed the answers in the Power BI report to that customer. So that context awareness really allows you to continue on and to do your work in a more meaningful way. Same thing in items. As I choose Athens Desk, you can see that it creates the information around Athens Desk. Now, in terms of adding more Power BI reports, you can see the drop down here above the Athens Desk chart. When I click on that drop down, I'm presented with the list of Power BI reports that I have available, as well as directly embedded in here the ability to go out and get reports for my organization or through the service right here within NAV. In order to do that, the connector needs to be set up, and the connector information has a lot of different pieces of information that we asked from Power BI before you could actually connect it. So within one screen now, we've put everything that you'll need to know when you go to Power BI, including the web service URL, the authentication type, and the web service access key that can be cut and paste into the setup. So when I come out to Power BI, for example, here's that new connector we mentioned, Dynamics NAV. You go to connect, you come back and you cut and paste the information from within NAV directly into that, and Power BI is up and running. So that should make it quite a bit easier to use than the previous experience. Let me move on to some of the Office integration work we've done, and we're building upon the Outlook add-ins that we introduced in NAV 2017 that allowed you to do sales quotes, sales invoices, vendor information. And now we've worked on the contact interactions within Outlook and presenting that information. So of course we had the ability first and foremost to render that information from a contact and say, would you like to make them a customer if they weren't already associated as a customer? And that made it simple from a prospect standpoint to either create or to connect a new contact to a customer. With this, what we're doing is using the NAV templates to create emails in Outlook and to track the integrations on the NAV record so that it's quite simple from Outlook to do that work. So when this, you see Andy Teal has come up, has some information, some questions, I can go up and create a new interaction. It recognizes all this information. I can type the content in and, of course, send that back as a reply email message from the greetings message Andy sent me with the notes and the content there. This is tracked within NAV. I have a record of that information as well as the time tracking that is standard with contact interaction is invoked. So you could track the time that it took for each of these interactions as well. So that's available in this version. We also spent time with some of the Excel integration, and we offer up a number of pre-configured Excel reports. You'll find these off of the right here in the ribbon, and these are predefined balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, retained earnings, trial balance, aged accounts payable, and receivables. So with that, you can easily start up and get that first bit of information from a pre-configured Excel report directly out of NAV 2018. But we also have the Excel add-in. And with the Excel add-in, we were able to take some of the list pages and create those in Excel, use the add-in to manipulate data and push back in. We got a lot of feedback on journals and journal pages, specifically GL Journal as an example. And this is something now within NAV 2018 that you're able to take many of the journal pages, you're able to open them in Excel, create, edit, and publish them back to NAV from the Excel add-in. So here's an example of the general journal that we pulled forward. I could change some of these fields, and again, the add-in will let us know if we are on a field that cannot be updated. So we adhere to all the business logic in NAV. We stop anything that shouldn't happen from happening. But if I can go in and change the posting group types or any of those, I can mass edit that, refresh, and now we've been able to update the GL journal from Excel. So those are just a couple of the things that we've added around Flow, Power BI, and some of the Office 365 integration. At this point, I'll turn it over to my colleague Klaus to talk about platform.
Thank you, Chad. So my name is Klaus Busk-Andersen, and I'm Group Program Manager for the platform. And let's dive right into what I have to talk about. First thing, since we're not doing any live demos in this setup, a small thing that makes a huge difference for a lot of us is what we call session refresh. And it's really simple. What it is that if you change company or role center, we no longer have to have you log in again to the client. We just refresh the session and show you whatever company or role center that you want to see. That makes a big difference if you wear a lot of hats when you work, or if you do a lot of demos like we do usually. So that's session refresh. Moving on to another tiny thing that makes a big difference if you actually do real work in NAV is the company display name. So usually, or still actually, the company is burned into the table names, and renaming the company is a very cumbersome and long-running transaction that is very intrusive. That no longer has to be like that. So by changing a record in a table or on a page, you can actually change the company display name that is used all over the UI and in reports also. So changing the perceived company name of an NAV company is instant at this point, rather than having to run through all tables and rename those. Moving on to something a bit more interesting, perhaps for most people, is report previewing. So previously, it's been so that you had to download the report viewer component and use that in the web client, and we render to PDFs in other scenarios like the mobile clients. Moving forward, we are rendering directly to PDF on all clients, and it's all embedded in the window that you use. So no weird pop-ups happens at this point, and you don't have to install a viewer to see to see the reports that you're trying to view. Now that gives a much better experience from a user, and we support all browsers at this point and all supported mobile platforms. It also gives interactivity within the report, so we present you with a toolbar from where you can actually do printing. We support mouse and keyboarding, and you can select and copy text, and we'll be able to react to hyperlinks. And moving forward, we'll be able to build on that to explore even more exciting opportunities for report previewing. See if I can progress this. Moving on to PowerShell. As you know, we run our own service at this point, and you'll start seeing some improvements that makes a lot of sense if you want to have high uptime and you want to be error prone. And two of them I want to show you here. The first one is that we've cleaned up some of our old PowerShell commandlets. So previously it was set nav server instance / start, stop, or restart. And now you'll see them renamed to start nav server instance, stop nav server instance, and restart nav server instance. Now the reason we've done that is that you could actually run set nav server instance with any number of / start, stop, restart, start, stop, restart, and it would provide a unknown or interesting result in the end. And that no longer happens after we renamed the PowerShell commandlets like we've done. Another thing we've done is that any changes to configuration settings today yesterday required a restart of the service. Sometimes you want to make changes that doesn't require that restart, which is very intrusive for all connected users. So we've done a limited number, you can see, but I think you will see that as we progress, we will add more to this list where it makes sense for us and hopefully also for you, so that you can dynamically change some of the settings on the server without having to restart it. Obviously, not all settings can be configured at runtime, but some of them can, and some of them definitely make sense to be able to configure like this. So that's PowerShell. Let's see. Progressing. We also looked a great deal on how we do upgrades of both NAV and what runs in our service. Obviously, we run a very high number of tenants on our service that we have to upgrade on a monthly basis. That means that we have to bring down the amount of time that it takes to upgrade a tenant, and also the amount of time that the tenant is offline or the customer is offline. So what we did was we took a look at where we spent our time, and then we started slicing it up into what can we do before we take the customer offline or the tenant offline and move that out of the offline window. Then we looked at eliminating tasks that wasn't really needed as part of the upgrade. Not really sure why we had those hanging around, but sometimes that happens, as you may know. And then we optimized what we actually do while the customer is offline or the tenant is offline to minimize the time even further. And then finally, we looked at whether or not there were tasks we could do after running the upgrade, not requiring the tenant or customer to be offline. So that we do those things after we bring back the customer or tenant online. So we've improved a lot in upgrade and primarily obviously for our service, but it also is a benefit for all of you that run on NAV. Some of the things that takes quite a bit of time was actually uninstalling and reinstalling extensions. That cost has been eliminated, and various other things that I want to delve into. One thing I want to call out is that upgrade is done as a single transaction, or can be done as a single transaction, meaning that if it succeeds, it succeeds, and if it fails, it's being rolled back, so that we don't leave any customers hanging in a somewhat upgraded state or some in-between states. We can't have that. So that's upgrade. And then I want to finish on a high, something that actually did not get into NAV 2018. It's in financials right now, and it's coming to NAV sometime soon, and that's web client personalization. So as you can see, I have a field that's called personalize in the top right corner, and if I click that, a bar will appear that says personalizing, and then it calls out what I'm looking at here, which is the business manager role center. And in here I can mark elements of the UI and be presented with some actions I can do to those elements. In this case, for this KPI, I can move or hide it. I can also move entire parts around on my role center and drop it where I want to see it. So if I switch these two, that's actually how my role center will look moving forward. Now, the role center is not the only thing I can personalize. If I go to my list of customers, I can click show more, and I get to this representation where I have a plus field at the top bar, and if I click that, I get presented the fields that are available to me to place on my list, and I can drag and drop those into anywhere in the list page. I can also do sorting, of the list as I look at it here, and when I'm done, I click done, and then it's saved back to my user. And the next time I open this page, it will look just like I left it in this demo. So that's personalization. As I said, it's in financials. It's coming to NAV sometime soon. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, the dev guy, who's called Jasper, also among friends.
So my name is Jasper. I'm the GPM for extensibility and dev tools. And NAV 2018 is a very, very exciting release for developers. We have so much new things that we are releasing with this release. And I'd like to add that NAV 2018 is not only the best on-premise of NAV today, it's also the stepping stone to the cloud future and to TNRF in the spring. And all of the things that I'm going to talk about in these following slides will also be relevant in a TNRF timeframe. In fact, they will be pointing in that direction. So let me start by talking about 3 different scenarios for extensibility for NAV 2018 and the technical capabilities that are being brought into place for supporting those scenarios. And as I just said, those scenarios will be relevant in a NAV 2018 reference, but they will also be a stepping stone of relevant in TNRF, and so will much of what I will be talking about here. So the first scenario for extensibility or integration, if you will, is what we call a Connect app. A Connect app represents the need for a customer to connect NAV to some other system, or a TNRF in the future. A good example of this could be integration to a third-party payroll system or third-party e-commerce type of system. And the technology that you use for creating that interoperability is the APIs that we're introducing in NAV 2018, and that we will be carrying forward. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the APIs in a couple of minutes. The other scenario is the scenario of an add-on app, what we call an add-on app. An add-on app is extending the capability of the NAV experience right there inside the experience. And an example of this could be payment, taxation, EDI, etc., adding those capabilities right inside of NAV and thereby extending the experience. And the third category here is the category we call an embed app. An embed app is the scenario where the customer is looking for an end-to-end solution to support their specific type of business. This is much more of a verticalized scenario where you can say in the add-on app it would be a more horizontal type of app scenarios. This is just to set the reference for these 3 scenarios. Now let's look at the technology that we're introducing that supports this. So let me start talking about the APIs. So with NAV 2018, we're introducing not one, but actually 44 different APIs that are going to be there available right out of the box. And these 44 APIs represent a broad set of scenarios for integrations that we encourage you to start using for interoperability. And again, if you do use any of these APIs, as we get to TNRF, that's actually something that you will continue to work with. So that's a very good investment. As we created these APIs, we also made some very fundamental investments in the whole API technology. And we're really happy about the progress we made in terms of our support for OData and OData version 4. And we're really happy to share with you that you can create your own APIs using the extensibility mechanisms and the AL language that I'll be talking to you about in a couple of minutes. One of the great things about the APIs is that you can integrate with NAV from any type of tool, from any type of system out there on any platform, and with any tools that is available at the marketplace today. And we think that's really a fantastic improvement, because this also means that now you actually have an access to a much larger skills pool in the market to create these interoperability scenarios, you can now go hire people who may not have an NAV classic kind of background, but have background in other technologies, and they will still be able to create some really, really interesting interoperability scenarios. In fact, one of the things that we have done over the past almost year is we've worked with a number of ISVs and partners who have no previous NAV experience, and they have been able to use our APIs to create interoperability scenarios and create integration to third-party systems. And we're really happy about that feedback we got from some of those partners they were very, very positive about how easy this is to do and how easy this is to work with. So that was a little bit about the APIs. Let me talk about the extensibility that we're introducing, because it's interesting that working with APIs is new to NAV, but it's not new to the industry in general. Many of other products and competitors out in the market have had APIs for a long time, and now we have them too. What's interesting is that we also have the capability of actually extending right inside the product, which I think is unique in many respects. So let's talk a little bit about the investments that we have made here and the things that we're making available in NAV 2018. In NAV 2017, we introduced Extensys V1, and V1 was great, and we're quite taken back about how many developers has actually embraced that and have created solutions and apps using the V1. Now, V1 did have some shortcomings, and Extensys V2 it's a much larger leap forward, and we're really happy that this is the first time that the Extensys 2.0 is going to be available for an on-premise version of NAV 2018. Also, this extensibility paradigm and those tools that we're introducing here, as I alluded to earlier, are the same tools and the same way of working with the extensibility that we'll be introducing in Tenerife. So any investments here will actually ready you for the cloud and for the Tenerife future. In short, on the tooling side, the way you create Extensys 2.0 is by either using the in-app designer or the Visual Studio Code, or probably in many cases you would be using both, where the in-app designer is more your visual tool, which gives you some productivity for doing some visual layout stuff and adding things and moving around fields on the page, and as the visual code will give you the ability to go really, really deep and add logic as well to your projects. And the cool thing about Visual Studio Code is that it's used by millions of developers each month, and it's evolving so fast. There's new releases coming out all the time. And by us plugging AL development into Visual Studio Code, we are utilizing that huge momentum in the marketplace to give you access to one of the most modern and one of the most up-to-date IDE experiences that are out there. So we believe we're making AL development fun and productive at the same time. And again, we're catering to a whole new audience and a whole new pool for you to go hire and build your pool of employees for the future. So there's a lot of important things going on here. Now in 2018, Seaside will still be available to you, so if you prefer doing that, you can do that. We do encourage you to have a very close look at the modern tools as well. And I do want to be very open about our attention here. At some point in time, and not to this point to be disclosed future, we will sunset Seaside, and the modern development tools will be the future. All our investments are being put into this modern development experience. We also created some extensions to the language. We put them all the umbrella of .NET placements that give you new language capabilities right there inside of AL. Now, on-premise, you can still do what you used to do in terms of .NET, and you can use C#, but we do really encourage you to have a look at some of these capabilities again, because any investment being made here is an investment that will, lower or make you even more ready for a cloud future as Tenerife arrive in the spring time frame. So a lot of very, very interesting investments going on, also on the language side. We're also changing the way that we are making these tools available to you. and we've made some very fundamental investments in terms of how you as a developer gain access and work with your whole tool set. So one of the new things is we're moving to a much faster cycle for how we're releasing development tools together with the platform. And one of the things that have enabled us to do that is that we have embraced containers, and we have embraced Docker as a mechanism for you to get access to install the development tools in the development environment. And we really think this is from an application lifecycle management and from a developer productivity perspective is super important to you. So if you haven't looked at the NAV on Docker, then we encourage that. This is specifically for developers, and something that we are really proud of the progress we have made here. This also enables you to run multiple versions of NAV on the same box in a very and enables you to install a new version super fast, and enables us to have to get the bits in your hands much faster. And then on a final note, I want to share with you that we have revamped some of our programs, and if you want to gain access to the latest big Dockers, you want to get access to readiness information, you want to get feedback or provide feedback, then we really encourage you to sign up to our Ready program. Now, this is still early days, so the way you do it is very simple. You write to this email that is presented right here, and then we'll hand carry it for now. We will optimize that process as we go forward. And I see that we're really a bit ahead of time, which is quite impressive when you look at the number of slides we had put forth with you. But let me just spend a minute or so to promote the next webinar. This is actually super exciting, because at that webinar we're going to be talking about how you can promote your consulting services offerings in the marketplace and in AppSource. This is also a new capabilities that we're bringing into market, and it is a new way for you to promote your service offerings. I would really encourage you to attend that webinar